How has it been with technology?
I don't want her to have a phone yet. I don't allow my kids to have cell phones until they're older. I feel very, 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 very strongly.
This is what they do. This is the phone, and they're making dinner. They're cleaning their dish.
Technology is the biggest concern that we hear from parents, and partly because it can be the least understood. We're in a generation of parents right now that's grown up with the internet, but at the same time, because there are so many new things coming up, there's a lot of concern over what their teens might be doing online in particular, and we want to honor that. We want to understand why parents are concerned and then help them to sift through those concerns to realize that technology is not all bad, it's a part of our lives.
For members of marginalized communities, the internet and social media can be an important source of belonging, of exploring your identity. So it is important that they have access to these resources.
There is times where I post about things like my knitting or a theater I'm doing or a musical I'm in or things like that. And that's definitely what people will relate to. And that's a way to start a conversation, I think.
I think it is a really good way for him to de-stress. I am also very mindful of the technology that is out there.
Being a baby boomer, we did not grow up with the technology, so we often turn to other people to help us with some of the technology.
There's got to be lessons for parents on how to use technology or how to understand
Social
technology.
media 101.
It is so fast.
Frequently, what we're doing around technology is helping adults not to avoid it or kind of write it off or try to keep their kids from it, but instead to think about how to delve into that world with your kid, become their digital neighbor, and help them to think about technology as an extension of the behaviors you're trying to teach them and the values you're trying to teach them in real life. So a lot of times we tell adults is to just start by talking about how you make critical decisions about online behavior. You start off with that modeling, and then you can also expect your kids to perhaps engage in some of that critical thinking about when screens might be, enhancing their life and when they might need to put them aside and make sure they're focused on other things.
Some problematic signs of screen use are when kids get irritable when they're away from technology, when there's lots of secrecy and there's lots of distance from the family unit. Sometimes there are, kids who kind of lock themselves up in their room for the entire evening and weekend. I tend to recommend to families to kind of pull them back into the family unit. You could start with at dinner, there's no phones, no devices, but it's going to start off with small steps.
I tried to regulate how much time I was spending on my phone, and I did that little thing where you can set a certain amount of time for each day. It worked for a week or two.
We limit the phone is half an hour, or any device, half an hour during the week. And one day, Tuesday, no technology.
My daughter does have this thing with being skinny, and she's only 7. What she's seeing on social media is affecting the way she views her body image.
He had several experiences which resulted in being suspended from school, involving his cell phone, involving social media, as far as posting things that were mean-spirited about another student at school. But all of the time, the posts came from these group Instagrams. And I had been saying through the whole school year, you cannot be having a forward-facing social media that you are sharing with multiple kids and not think that this is going to go real bad.
Healthy use of technology is usually going through a checklist. How invested are they in their academics? How invested are they in their homework? Do they have friends that they see, kind of after school or in person? Do they have extracurricular they're involved in? But at the same time, because there are so many new things coming up, there's a lot of concern over what their teens might be doing online in particular and what effect that might be having on youth mental health. There is research showing that for certain vulnerable populations, for certain online behaviors, they can be really injurious for kids. One of those behaviors is cyberbullying. It can be done anonymously, it can be done repeatedly. Kids can feel like there's even less of a chance of escaping, the behavior that they're seeing online. That's where we really want parents to be involved in talking to kids as they're engaging online with their friends in middle school and high school about what's safe online behavior, what online behaviors are the ones where you want to tell an adult as it's going on, and where you might want to get the school involved to make sure that a kid can feel safe in all the settings that they're moving through.
Like, I've talked to my kids about, not giving out private information and things like that.
You don't know who's always on the other side of that screen. I don't want to impart them with fear, but I try to get them to understand the realness of the world as well.
It is important that young people and their families understand how to set healthy boundaries and what the risks and the rewards can be of being online.
The things they think are innocent that they do with their cell phones, the world might not see it as innocent.
At the end of the day, my kids know that I love them and it's only for their protection. And I think they understand that. So I do give them their privacy. I do give them their freedom, privacy to an extent.
So what I always go back to, myself as a parent, is that I have a moment at night, hopefully, after my kids are sound asleep, to reflect on that day and think to myself, is there a boundary I want to set tomorrow a little bit differently? Or is there a way I'd like to behave around this a little bit differently? And again, it's that gradual kind of like reflection on these things that can change family patterns over time.
We're doing these little baby steps here. So she has an old phone. She can use this phone that doesn't have a phone number tied to it, but she can use an iCloud. It came with some parameters. Let's pick 5 people that you're allowed to text. Okay, you can text, but you're not allowed to send pictures.
I have to take their video game devices for them not to play it. It's funny because my youngest will hide it from himself sometimes. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, Mom, I'm hiding my handsets from, me because I don't want to play right now.
At the beginning, it wasn't a fight. They didn't understand it. Why can I play with this all day like I was during the summer? But now it's like, okay, it's 4 o'clock. Can I get my phone? All right, here's the phone at 6. Here you go. So now it's like they understanding the routine.